And then when you go virtual background, just go to wherever you keep pictures at. I'm gonna preset this for 35 people.
So they have like face tuning on a Zoom. Like when you turn on the video, it's like touch up my appearance. You can make yourself look better. See?
Oh,
This is the
really?
best
Hold
I'll
on.
ever
They
look
got
on
filter.
Zoom.
They got
And
filtering,
then
huh?
down.
Oh, you like that,
Up.
huh? Hey, Rob. Hey, Kimmy. So Tiffany,
Hi,
Kimmy is
Rob.
one of our presenters today.
Hi, Kimmy.
Greetings all.
How are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm fine. I don't know why my picture's black and white.
I don't know. It looks pretty cool with the Earth background and the stars. And
Right. She kind of got that halo effect going on.
I guess I can't fix it. It's fine then. All right. It kind of matches your background, JP.
Fine. We'll be twinsies.
Twinsies.
What's in the center of your background, JP? I can't.
It's a little
See what-
logo that says "What grinds my gears."
Ah,
How you doing today, Kimmy? Kimmy ain't talking to me. Kimmy, you know you're on mute, right?
Thank you so much for highlighting that. Yeah.
How you doing today?
I am good. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm
Kimmy,
pretty good.
Meet
And,
Tiffany. Tiffany is the person that's running all of this. I just sit back here and let her do what she gonna do.
Awesome.
Just for a little bit. I'm gonna abandon y'all at 2 o'clock, and JP's gonna do what he does.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now it's always teamwork, right?
That's the way we do it.
Awesome. I'm gonna try and connect with my phone.
Okay. And I'm gonna give people about 2 more minutes, and then we're just going to run with what we have. They'll all come running after the fact. If I have anybody on right now that is a member of ISC Square, you look like you're listening to music, Tiffany. That's a member of ISC Square, and you need to make sure you get your CPEs for attending our chapter meeting. Please, by all means, throw your full name and your ISC Square number in the chat, and I'll pick it up and make sure you get what's coming to you. Hey, Curtis.
That didn't sound nice. Curtis is still connecting his audio.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's
Looky
Curtis.
there. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Curtis Berger is our living breed.
Ooh, you
Dude,
must
if
be
I had
very
that junk-
special.
Look, if I had that junk sitting in the background, I'd have used the virtual background.
What is that?
Because now I want to know what you got in the boxes.
Boxes, that's rocketry stuff.
Oh, see, what's in the box?
Yep.
See, I'm geeking out over there. Hey, Mark. All righty. Well, unfortunately, there are going to be some folks that miss out on the beginning part. Of course, this is our April chapter meeting. Believe it or not, 1/4 of the year done, even though it was done last month. But Tiffany, you look like you're singing.
I'm just making faces and making noise on mute.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
While everybody's still coming in, I'm getting ready to pull up some information for everyone. Because I know I've had several questions over the course of the month. Hey, I'm short a few CPEs. Where can I go to get them? So I want to make sure that everyone in the chapter knows there are other things out there for you to do and get your CPEs. And some of them not even as bad as I thought it was. I even did one just to be the taste tester for the chapter. All right, and if you didn't hear earlier because you hadn't got in yet, when you are submitting your number, hey Dev, when you're submitting your number, Mark, nice to meet you online. That is one, Tiffany, that is our presenter from Six Engines.
Hey, Mark, welcome. Six Engines. Oh, there's Danetti.
Hey, Danetti. All righty. So anyway, let's get all of the housekeeping things out of the way. Let me share this out to the good people so you can see this. All right, is that coming out clear for everyone? Or do I need to make it a little bit
Clear.
larger?
Oh, looks good, JP.
I'll make it a little bit bigger. All righty. So for those who have been struggling to get here for chapter meetings and to get on our Saturday chapter meetings when they occur, if you are already a member of ISC Square, you have access to what is known as the Professional Development Institute. So let me come down here first. What they've also done in order to get you and to entice you to spend your money and become a member of ISC Square and get some of the nice certs, they have a free class to show you what it's about. Of course, the class is on big data. Let me do this. Oh, wait a minute. If I do this, it won't, you won't see it go there. So I have it up on another screen. I'll go there in a second. And also, so this is so you can get your continuing education credits. I will make that announcement again before the end of it. For people who are interested in this and not a member of IC Square with a certification, they're going to charge you $649. And trust me, 3 years ago, it was about $9,000 for this. And I think it was probably $1,000 for members of IC Square. Those on board right now who need to get certification, want to get certification, and don't know how to go through it, they have some self-study resources on there. Also, in our group on LinkedIn, I've published a free CISSP prep course given to us by one of our partners, FR Secure and Security Studio. They do classes on a regular basis. Tiffany tells me they're fantastic, and I'm going to go with her word. These documents, I think I can send them through Zoom, right? Tiffany, can I send these through Zoom?
You can try.
All
I don't know.
right. Like, you can try. Okay, I'll try to send them through. If not, just message me on LinkedIn, and we will get all of that going.
Is there an attachment in the chat? Yeah, you should be able to send a file, I think. Yes, you can. In the chat, from the chat box.
Okay, well, I'll send that out now. If I can open my window back up all the way through like I want it. Oh, now I got it at a thumbnail. All righty. So today we have we're fortunate we have two great presentations for you. One of them is 6 engine. Thanks, Tiffany. One of them is 6 engine. That's not me. And the second one is going to be V. That's from the company Zorbus. So we've already flipped the coin and done all of that. Kimmy, we're gonna let 6 engines go first, and then you can sit back, get a rest. Mark, you're gonna be up. You got 45 minutes to impress the masses on what you have to tell us today.
All right, sounds good. Can I get the JP? Can I get the screen share control here?
Oh, Tiffany, can you screen share it to him? Or do I have to do it? Because I'm still trying to get back.
I'll make him a co-host.
Okay, there you go. And make Kimmy a co-host now so we can
you can actually just enable screen share without making them a host from your security screen within Zoom if you want. Yeah. You know, at the bottom in Zoom, actually you can go there, click on the security, and then you can just say screen share. It's a toggle switch.
All right, thanks. Give it a try.
Did you get it?
It says I cannot start screen share while other participant is sharing.
Oh.
Yes, that has to be stopped. Yeah, JP has to stop that. Yep, that's right.
I stopped.
There we go. Okay, so we are 6 engines. Along with us today, we have 2 members of our tech team to answering your questions, Taylor and Rob. Taylor's from the Fort Worth area, and Rob is from East Texas, and I'm Mark Obrecht. So we all live in Austin, and I'm from Tulsa. So DFW is halfway home for me, but I've been down here in Austin for 27 years now, I think. But yeah, 6 Engines is my 3rd company. I've started here in Austin. First company started, out of the University of Texas. College roommates, 2 of us in our college apartment. Ended up with 6 of us sleeping on air mattresses, working and living in a 2-bedroom apartment. This is right after the right around the dot-com bust era. And what we built at the time, we kind of had this thought that, boy, the whole world's focused on, the love letter virus for those who have been around for a while, and replicating malware. And we felt like, the real threats was, and this is, obviously 22 years ago, and we felt like the real threat was, backdoors and non-replicating malware and targeted attacks. So what we started writing in that little humble college apartment, essentially control, delete, or enumerate processes, however you want to say it, in DLLs, and we came up with about 130 different attributes or characteristics to determine which running processes on the machine were Trojans, backdoors, ransomware, etc. And grew it from the 2 of us to the 6 of us to eventually 120 of us. Went to Silicon Valley, scared to death as a couple of young kids, went out from Austin, went out there and raised some VC and hired some fancy New York sales guys and got a bunch of big logos. And the name of our company was Whole Security. So we got like JP Morgan and Raymond James and a lot of Pacific Life, a lot of brand names. So grew it to 120 folks, had an install base of about a million systems. And then we got acquired by Symantec and became known as Symantec Sonar. So any of you who are out there who are familiar with the Norton or Symantec product lines, so we are Sonar. And Sonar is essentially in many ways equivalent to 6 Engines. So that's why I kind of like to give a little background of where we've come from. But yeah, Sonar, so they acquired us. We rolled out to 132 million systems at one time, which I have to tell you is the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my entire life. And that's just, and what I've learned later is that was just the paid systems. That didn't cover all the pirated systems, pirated copies of Symantec and of Norton Antivirus and Norton Internet Security. We were baked in to all the products. So rolled out to there, we would go up there and, you know, on a quarterly basis, whether it's consumer, mid-market, small to medium-sized business, or enterprise, you know, would find a malicious and they had all kinds of defense in depth in place. We would find, anywhere between 15 and 25% of the machines had some type of residual, not saying it was actively being used as a conduit for compromise, but some type of backdoor on the machine. With a false positive rate of about 1 out of every 3,500 users per quarter, with 3 folks in India doing whitelisting for us. So we didn't detect everything in the world. We didn't detect, you know, every rootkit or whatever, but that's a whole lot of bulk detection we could do over because, you know, when you see the like Symantec Endpoint Protection or, you know, Norton Internet Security or Norton 360, any of those, it's really like 20 at the time. I think we were engine number 23. So it's really many engines that run underneath it. So did the big rollout. We won the first ever behavioral reviews. And, you know, at the time, the reviewers in the endpoint security space were basically would just go and find the most hard to find threats they could, put them in a folder on their desktop, right click and click scan and produce the results. And so I worked with the folks at McAfee and Kaspersky and Trend, Panda, Bit9, which is now Carbon Black, to get to get the reviewers to create real world scenarios where you had not just static files that you were detecting, but actual running processes, which were active backdoors or could be used as a conduit for compromise for an organization, regardless of its size or an individual consumer. But we know that that's not necessarily the greatest use of attackers' time. So did that, then did my second company, ended up getting bought out by our venture capitalist, kind of took that expertise to systems management. And then after that, I had some time on my hands and I wrote down all the ideas I had up on the whiteboard. And the one that stuck out for me was 6 engines. And really what I was thinking to myself at the time is, whether you got big 5 consultants, whether you got, pen testers, whatever, they go and they do risk assessment on your perimeter, on your email, on your cloud, on all these layers. But I always felt like they never did it. No, they never did it on the endpoint, on the user. So I felt like I could take this expertise I had from behaviorally classifying processes to now behaviorally classifying users and endpoints according to their behavior, to kind of be that missing link in the risk assessments that folks give out there. So I got an office in downtown Austin here for a couple of years just to work on the characteristics, the attributes, what creates a risky user or a risky machine. Just very analogous to my first company, what creates a risky process or a process that could be that is a threat. So I worked on it on just the attributes and the math alone for several years before we even started to write it. And then we wrote it into a 1 megabyte, give or take, piece of code, which is pushed out through any mechanism that you have to manage software on your machines, runs for 25 to 40 seconds. It's all read-only, it's all user mode, looks at 581 different characteristics of the system, reports to the cloud and deletes itself. And what does it do? It does 2 main things. It quantifies your highest risk users and tells you what to do with them. And secondarily, it assesses and proves the posture of all the endpoints in an environment. Because the postulate I always kind of had was that organizations know, they've long suspected that, Freddie in engineering is a worse user than Pam in finance, just from anecdotal data or whatever, but they never had a way of quantifying that. So that's what we're doing with these 581 different attributes, is quantifying which of these users are in fact riskier than others. And when I say risky, which ones are more likely to create a security event in, X amount of time in the future. And if you look at the 6 engines, which we now have 7, but we're not changing the name of the company. We're looking at different dimensions of risk on these machines and with these users. And so like the first engine, just to kind of give you an example as well, we'll give you some examples as we go through it. We're not going to obviously go through all 581, but the first dimension in engine is self-management. So everyone here is obviously security pros. When you sit down at a colleague's machine or a friend's or family member's machine, you can usually tell at about 2.2 seconds if they're a good user or a bad user by looking at context clues. And that's what this engine does here with self-management is, when you sit down at their machine, you might notice down by in the system tray, down by the clock, that there's a bunch of notifications and they got a bunch of icons. You might notice on their desktop that they've got shortcuts, not to a whole bunch of Excel sheets, because they're, that's specific to their role, but they got a bunch of shortcuts to a whole bunch of different applications. You might see, when you sit down at their machine, that they have a bunch of toolbars. Well, those are just 3. Well, we look at, hundreds and hundreds, and like I said, ultimately 581 across all the engines of these different types of characteristics or attributes, and we start to algorithmically weigh, whoa, this user is a sloppier user. This user is a messier user. This is the pool of users that are more likely to click on a phishing email, to click on a malicious attachment, to click on some type of security threat and be a risk to your environment. And in our analysis, we'll show you what you do with those folks, okay? Second engine is forensic. If a compromise does occur, how prepared is this machine for a forensic look back? And this is just easy stuff that organizations can do to make sure that if and when a breach does occur, how can they, be best postured to go and investigate it and not have egg on their face to management. And what are we looking at here? What are the directories and the registry keys that malware will often hit? And do they have the appropriate auditing permissions turned on? This is very straightforward. We give, recommendations on how to do it. It does not take long to do, but it's a very low cost thing that can be done that just, is better security team hygiene altogether. Our third engine is defense. How well can the machine defend itself? Are we looking for what security products are on the machine? Yes. Are they enabled? Yes. Are they up to date? Yes. Because we're on the machine for this 30-second period of time before we report and delete ourselves. Might as well look at everything, right? There's other products out there that do that, but then we look at inference-based stuff that's completely separate from that. And that's where I kind of tie it back to my first company. It's same philosophy and approach, but completely different intellectual property. So, but like with this defense, yeah, we do the standard stuff, but then we come in and say, well, does this machine have enough memory available to even run these active protection on these security products? And a whole bunch of stuff like that. We'll get into some of those in the analysis. Fourth engine is insider. That's self-explanatory, I'm sure, to everyone here. We're not here to be the main convictor on it, but what we are here to do is just to give security organizations a ground level view from the machine, since we're there, on different characteristics that an insider might be doing. We're not there to alert on it, but just to give them to be used in a higher level correlational way. The fifth engine is physical security. Never been more important than today with all these machines out there floating around in the wild. What are we looking at? Do they have nearby sharing enabled? Do they have autoplay enabled? Where if someone gets a hold of the machine and they just plug in a USB, does it fire up? Do they have notifications on the lock screen? So they might be password protected and all that, but there's still all these notifications that someone could glean information from. And all these different characteristics I'm mentioning are weighed according to severity in our algorithm on the back end. Sixth engine is exfiltration. How easily can data be moved off the box? And the seventh engine is identity. Are there user rights and identity anomalies present across the population within the organization? Okay. So like I said, we run for, you push us out. It takes us 20 minutes in the lab to test, 20 minutes to push out, and then you're done. And then you just kind of sit back and wait for the results to come in. And depending upon the size of the organization, whether it's 500 seats or it's 30,000 seats, it usually takes a few days because some people don't have their computers turned on, or they might be working on their iPad that day, or they might be on PTO or whatever. So once we get to about 95%, then our analysis will kick off ultimately. But like I said, so it runs for 30 seconds, ask these 581 different questions of the machine about the user. And there's no PII. I mean, all we really collect is username and MAC address. Everything else is all encoded, comes back as 0, 1, true, false, some counts, a few arrays of some registry keys or processed list. Nothing very interesting unless you have the decoder ring and the algorithm back on our side. But like, we take no corrective action on the machine. And it's very simple to deploy, and it gives you rich intel immediately. So after a couple of days, this thing will show up in your email box. And this, I'm going to show you a PDF today, but a web version of this will show up. A web link will show up that you log in and you can see your results. And what I'm going to show you here is this is sanitized data from a Fortune 500 manufacturing company. And it's kind of jaw-dropping as you go through it to see some of the basic stuff and then some of the advanced user stuff that we see. In the security space on the vendor side, I feel like everyone's out there, and obviously I've been in the industry, with Symantec, and my buddies are high end at all the big logo, all the big vendors that because we started out as young folks, and then now it's amazing they're C-level folks at these vendors, which is kind of humorous from my perspective. If you started on an air mattress years ago, it's pretty humorous from that perspective. But everyone's out there trying to tout ML and build like fancy satellite technology. And what we try to tell you with 6 engines is, have you went and looked in the cutlery drawer in your kitchen and how to use your spoon and knife and fork? Don't worry about the satellite just yet. When you can do a lot of stuff that's very interesting with this. That immediately what it does for you is we give you quick recommendations that allow you to button up your environment to make it to where if you have a SOC, where your SOC doesn't have to work as hard. Whether, and your MDR, the MDR folks in the industry, they don't have to work as hard because you're just a tighter environment all around. So this, and like I said, this is the PDF I'm going to show you, but this is sanitized real data. And this has got about 7 different sections. But like I said, this shows up as a web form, or excuse me, as a web page. But here it's all static. But each of these tables I'm going to show you today are all scrollable in the actual analysis. And so as we go through these 7 sections, the first section is, here you go. We're quantifying your users by risk according to the behaviors that we look at. And on the user side, I think we're looking at something like 367 of these are specific to the user, which I think makes us much different than like looking at compliance and other things that are out there, because no one's really asking questions like I let off at the top with diversity of desktop shortcuts, number of notifications coming out of the system tray. I mean, these are all inference-based things that aren't really security, but it does tell you a lot about how risky these users are and how likely they are to create a security event. Okay. So that's the first section. We quantify these users by risk. And then the last section, we tell you what to do with them. Okay. The second section here is just site-wide recommendations. Your security team and your ops team can hop on a Zoom and go, yep, nope, as we go through it. And this is just stuff that you can say, yes, we should do this. No, we should not. Or if you are the security and ops team for your organization, you can make these decisions and you can cherry pick which ones you want. Like I said, we don't take any corrective action. We are here as Intel as a service. And since we run and delete ourselves, we are meant to be run quarterly, because it takes us some time for these, different characteristics and abuse that you see these users do to build up. Giving you another just blinking light and excuse my French, but vomiting data on you, I've never been a believer in. And it's so funny, JP, that you talked about big data at the top of the call with certification, is we're the opposite of that. I believe in small data and how to use small data.
But the problem with that is,
It's
Mark,
like
big
a lot
data
of
came
like
from the programmers.
vendors out there in the industry. Go ahead.
I said the
Did
big
someone-
problem with that is, big data came from the programmers.
Yeah, I understand. And so we do these, but this is the power of small data. And like I said, this is a Fortune 500, and the CISO was blown away, and her security team were blown away when I showed them these results. So here I'm just showing 9 examples in as I go through, because like I said, it's static. But if you come and run it, you will see, you can scroll and scroll and scroll, and you can see more and more of these, and you can just pick which ones you want. But like just things like secure boot, part of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, not enabled on 70% of the machines. This is a Fortune 500 site. I mean, that's just eye-opening, because they have policy in place and they've got products that are supposed to tell them this. Well, we come in, as I said, to be that missing link in kind of the big 5 risk assessments. And this is the endpoint view on the posture side. Reduce cache domain logons, part of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, not enabled on 100% of the machines. I mean, this is just stuff that folks can do, and they can do it rapidly. I don't expect folks to go out or customers to go out and perform brain surgery on each of these endpoints. This is site-wide stuff that you can say, yep, we should do. And then consider disabling the web proxy auto discovery protocol on 25% of machines. And you see here, we have this risk potential link. And if you click on it, and then it'll take you to, you don't just take our word for it, 6engine's word, here's outside source to give you some more insight on that. Allow all macros in MS Office on 2% of machines. We know that that's not good. Click on it.
Mark,
takes you to the,
sorry
Yep.
to interrupt, but you're still sharing the overview. I'm not sure if you're just sharing that specific tab. At least I just wanted to make, that's what I see on my screen anyway. I wasn't sure what else everyone else is seeing.
Oh, it was telling me I was showing my whole screen.
There it is. I see it now.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was telling me I was showing my whole screen. That was a bug.
Sorry,
I do these every day. So okay, back to it. So here's the first section of the highest risk users. And then here is the site-wide, thank you, Taylor. This is the site-wide recommendations like I was talking about. The secure boot, part of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, not enabled on 70% of the machines. Allow all macros, not disabled on 2% of machines. And this is just the stuff, like I said, that you can get in and say, yep, nope, yep, nope. And back to it, these are the tables and they're all scrollable, but this is a PDF. Everyone with me now? Okay, so that's the second section. And so this is the third section. So this is engine results. Why were some users ranked riskier than others? So we go through each of the engines and give you some idea. Now we don't expose all 581 characteristics by any means, but we give you some idea of why to build the credibility behind these findings of which users are the highest risk and which machines are the highest risk machines and users in the environment. And so you come down here and say, okay, so on the self-management, improper UAC settings on 3% of the machines, well, that's going to kick a user out of the general population up into this higher risk category, okay? High process count from hidden directories on 0.5% of machines, that's going to kick them up. So we're not going to go through all of these today, but we just go through engine by engine. Defense, like I talked about, low amount of memory, high number of crashes on the machine. I mean, of security software crashes. I mean, how critical is that? You spend this money and this time to configure, to buy and configure these security products, but then they're crashing. Proxy software, which is part of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, on 0.5% machines. Well, that's going to kick them up into the higher risk environment. exfiltration, high number of browser saved passwords, when secure copy, remote PowerShell active, that kicks them up on the exfiltration side. Insider, high number of non-standard elevated processes, shredding software, hacker utilities. So that's that engine. Forensic we'll show a little bit later. Physical we already talked about. User context we'll talk about as we go down. And then we show this handy dandy pie chart and comparison. So this is what your environment looks like. So this is your makeup. This is your low risk users, your mid risk, your sophisticated users, and your high risk users. Well, what's a sophisticated user? I mean, someone who has Visual Studio on their machine, you probably need to worry about, a little bit less. Someone who's got GitHub on their machine, you probably need to worry about a little bit less in terms of your environment. And then we take this red sliver here and we show you what to do with these high risk users at the end. And then we show you how you stack up against similar sized organizations. And we give your basic, max risk score, mean and median and all that. And then we go through some of the data examples. And just to tell you kind of how Six Engines thinks a little bit, users on OpenDNS. Well, are we going to ding folks that haven't done that? No, but someone who goes in there and changes their DNS to be OpenDNS is probably someone you need to worry about a little bit less. And so that just gives you some idea to the inference-based way that Six Engines approaches things. This is a great one right here I always like to show, is the number of unsigned installers sitting on the file system. Is this necessarily malware detection or anything? No, we're hunting for weak systems and weak users, right? So as you go through here and you see that these users who have more and more unsigned installers just sitting on their file system, that is an indication that this is a user you probably would want to worry about more within your environment. And then we give you some, a little bit of process and version information. We all know how difficult it is to support a single application. When you got legacy versions of those applications out there, obviously those machines algorithmically are going to get more risk points, but it's also visibility, for an organization to come in and say, wow, hey, Chris, I thought that, we had this covered, and then, we just illuminate that for you. And also processes running on only a single machine within the environment. That is, obviously a head scratcher when you see it, and those machines are going to get more risk points, but then we also illuminate that for you so you can see it. So this is the forensic engine I was talking about earlier. So this is the second engine with respect to having these machines prepared for a forensic look back. So as you see, a lot of these directories, there's zero auditing permission turned on. But then what was interesting at this Fortune 500 site is you get down here and someone in either ops or security cared enough to turn on auditing for these directories, but didn't do it for all of the machines in the environment, let alone all the other directories and registry keys that they should be doing it for. And it's just fascinating when you come down and see some of these where someone cared enough to do it to turn it on for some, and this could have been an outside party, some type of incident response that came in and turned it on. But this is just the type of stuff that you can do that just has an immediate impact, or not immediate impact, but it's an immediate change you can make that will save you heartache down the road. And just to give you some unusual activity data examples, you see Perl running in IT, okay, or in engineering, no big deal. You see Perl running out in sales, maybe it's an SE, but Perl running in finance, that's gonna be a head scratcher. So we give visibility on that, and obviously those machines are gonna get more risk points as well. And then like application shims, this is part of the MITRE ATT&CK framework. This is part of the forensic engine. These are vendors being lazy, but these machines are going to get more risk points, obviously, because it's part of the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And then you get down here to honorable mentions. We know this stuff is hard, so here's some applause on here's stuff that you're doing better than similar size organizations that Six Engines has run at as well. And so we just eliminate some of those, location turned off, default password attempts policy, stuff like that, where this organization was doing a very good job on these things. And so we give applause. And then we kind of show the big page. So this is what all of this is for. So if you remember our pie chart up here, take this red sliver and then you say, okay, well, what do I do with this? Well, we tell you what to do. Like, as I said earlier, we don't expect you to perform brain surgery on each one of these machines. But this first couple of paragraphs, recall to the top, site-wide stuff like secure boots, whatever, your ops team, your security team can get together and say, yep, nope, on those. And we give you the data to back it up and for you to make decisions on. But that's what these top two say right here. But then with the red sliver, we have sub-algorithms that divide them up into 4 subsections. And what do you do with them? Well, these right here, these systems these users are less cautious, more reckless. How do we determine that? We're looking at 367 behaviors, such as they have unusual Chrome extensions. They have a high number of pack files on their system. They've opted into data shares, and 364 other behaviors that say this user is more reckless. What do you do with a more reckless user? These are the users you want to consider restricting their privileges / lockdown and or give them security and awareness training. If they're getting security and awareness training, they need the advanced course. You don't need to necessarily go worry about each of the characteristics that we're looking at, because we're telling you what to do with them. And we give you the examples for you to kind of understand the why, how we classify a reckless user. And as I said before, we weight it according to severity, okay? This next subset of that red piece of the pie chart is these machines have exhibit a high attack surface. How do we determine that? We're looking at 91 behaviors, such as they have a high number of orphan processes, app INIT DLLs, browser child processes, and 88 other behaviors. And so what do you do with a machine that has a high attack surface? These are machines where you should prioritize the security and detection alerts from any of the security products you have in your security stack, because they have a higher likelihood of being genuine. And that kind of goes back to my Symantec Sonar days. And the Sonar is now run on billions of computers, believe it or not, which just still blows my mind. But basically saying, don't worry about all the noise. You worry about the noise according to your staffing and whatnot that you can. But these are the machines that you should prioritize the alerts from, because they have a higher likelihood of being genuine. This subset of the red piece of the pie chart, these are machines that display vestiges of a past or possibly current, even though we're not out there looking for current infection. But essentially what we're saying here is that there's something kooky on it. What do we determine? What are we looking at here? 74 behaviors, such as processes running from hidden directories, unusual file extensions in the process list. Like, I mentioned Carbon Black or CrowdStrike or Sentinel-1, anyone like that. They're looking for specific threats. What I'm saying here is, you might see tilde.whatever.scr in the file in the process list. I'm not saying that that's a threat. What I am saying is this is a high risk machine and there's something kooky on it. These are machines that you want to re-image. Also VB apps, non-standard LSPs. But if I'm in charge of these from a security engineering standpoint or a CISO standpoint or ops standpoint, and someone tells me these are high risk machines, these are boxes that are candidates just to be re-imaged. And then finally, this subset of the little red piece of the pie chart of high risk, these are high risk machines that also have a bunch of poor hardware and operating characteristics, such they have insufficient memory, a bunch of crashes, alerts, app failures. These are the machines that you want to come in and just replace. There's no reason to try to go and mess with them in any way, shape, or form. The Six Engines recommendation would be to replace. Additionally, Six Engines, past all the security stuff, if you want help in which machines to replace and not based upon our algorithm and that's data backed, then we can do this for everyone in addition to the high risk machines. But these high risk machines, you know, there's no reason to prioritize alerts from them or lock them down or to reimage them, just replace them. And so that is 6 engines. So we can open it up for questions.
Okay, you talked about the MITRE ATT&CK framework. How do you actually achieve that, Mark?
What do you mean?
What do you use as like the framework to guarantee that you're adhering to the MITRE ATT&CK framework standard?
We are just an Intel service. I mean, we are Intel as a service. We just come in and say, when we show you these examples, so let me get back into that. When we show you these examples, especially the ones here at the top, we give you, I mean, one of the CISOs who I've talked to over the years, she called us Dragnet. She's like, you're just the facts. So we just come in and say, hey, shadow point, you know, shadow copy restore points, part of the MITRE ATT&CK framework is not enabled in 45% of the machines. It's up to, you know, on these, as I said, these are take or leave. We are just here to provide the intel on that for each organization to decide how they want to handle that.
How long would it take to set that up in a typical environment?
Usually 20 minutes in the lab to test, 20 minutes to deploy, and then you're done. And then this shows up days later, depending upon the size of the deployment and the number of machines, but the number of machines that are turned on, turned off, all that. But I mean, that's really it. I mean, as I said, we're read only, we're user mode, so we're low risk. My team and myself, our previous software is run on, you know, billions of computers over the years. So, you know, not 6 engines, but our previous ones. So it's very, very low risk from that perspective. And it's very, very low time. And then this, a web version of this analysis will show, a link to this analysis will show up in your inbox.
Okay, so in terms of this, is this something that an organization should run on a quarterly basis, or?
Absolutely. Quarterly is what we recommend, as I said earlier, because it takes some time for users to beat up on their boxes and for drift to take place. So, you know, you could run this all the time, but then we're kind of just another security product. We're just on there. Like I said, we just run for 25 to 40 seconds and we delete ourselves. That's it.
Hey, okay, so one other thing. Let's say if I am I able to use this in a hub and spoke mode where my company would be the hub and all of my clients would be the spoke? So if I wanted to service 5 or 6 of my clients, I could sit in as the hub and all of the spokes on it, I could run 6 engines for my different clients and get the results back.
Yes. Now I'm going to let Rob take that. Rob, do you want to take that? You might be on mute.
Come on, Rob.
Rob, you there?
Yeah, I didn't unmute.
There we go.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
off. There you go.
It is an intended use for it. It is a little bit manual to do that now. It is in, I'm working on a portion so that you can do it automatically and just set up for your different clients. That is currently work in progress. No matter what, you are responsible for deploying it. We do not ourselves do any deployment. So you have to get it to the customer's machines.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what,
Because
anyone
what
who
I'm
wants to
looking
do
at-
that, just to be clear, we have Big 5 Consulting that's booking us now, and we have managed folks that are booking us now. So they're already doing it, and yes, they might have to do it one-off. We've put most of our heavy lifting on the Intel side and on the algorithm side. As far as, you know, building out for, you know, whatever type of forum I'm in, people always ask for different features, and I'm always like, if you bring enough accounts in, we will get you taken care of. But so, you know, some folks want it JSON, some folks want it integrated here, and I'm just like, okay, you bring me in a few accounts, and yes, I will happily do that for you. But it's kind of, that's kind of my perspective from it. This is the first company, you know, for my first two companies, raised 63 million in VC. This one we've raised none. And we've got Fortune 500s, we've got Big Five, we've got the biggest security vendors out there that are all using us. So are we completely seamless from a MSP standpoint? No, but you just pass it out to, you know, each of the customers that you have, each of the accounts, each of the companies, you know, use them interchangeably, and they can just run it, and they will be serviced. And that everyone's always, their eyes, you know, just light up when they see their intel, and then also when they see how they stack up against similar sized organizations. So they can take this analysis, and, you know, they said it'll be a web version of it, but you can screenshot it, and you can take it up to your management and say, you know, that pain in the butt security stuff I've been telling you to do the last 3 years, well, we just scored in the 91st percentile of similar sized organizations. Or you might find you scored in the 12th percentile and be like, hey guys, let's huddle up and let's implement some of these changes, and then let's wait a little bit, let's have 6 engines run again, then as we move up, then we'll take the analysis and kick it upstairs.
Okay, and do you have a title card, Mark, so you can show everybody the URL and how they get in contact with you if they would like to see a demo? Well, you know what? Let me do this. Everybody, I'm going to drop my chapter email in the chat box. And if you would like to have a personal demo, because you don't want to talk about your environment and how bad it sucks in front of everyone else.
Well,
you
can,
can,
I'm making a slide as you're talking.
Okay, you can send your request to me, and I won't laugh at you too hard that you want to see the product, but I will talk badly about your environment because I know why you want to see what's going on in your environment. Anyway, I'm just teasing. But Mark, I will be calling you because I have somebody that needs to see this firsthand. And I'm going to go ahead and shame him because he's online. My CEO is sitting online right now. Derek, tell Mark we're going to see this next week. Or is he still on here? He might have left.
Oh, did I bore him?
No, he's on here. He may have walked away from his PC. That's fine. Let's talk about him. No, I'm just playing.
JP, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead, Dev.
Yeah, it's a great presentation. Great presentation. Great presentation. It's good to know now. I recall that the Symantec bought your company 5 years ago, the Sonar?
No, they bought it October the 5th of 2005, and then I did a second company.
2005. Oh, okay, I see. I thought this is the one which takes them into cloud. I thought, but no. Okay, that may be a different one. So I wanted to know how you are different from Tanium.
It's so funny you asked that. So
the reason is we use
my entire life I have fought two groups of people: the Okina Bit9 Carbon Black people, for people who go back to Okina, which is a Cisco security agent, and then the Big Fix Tanium people. Those are the folks that I have always fought. And this is, I have a very simple answer for that, is they are a platform. They are whatever you want to be. They detect everything and nothing. They can do anything and they can do nothing. Whereas what we do, and what I always thought was a better use of corporate security time and folks like yourselves, is I do pre-configured rule sets and algorithms that make a call. Make a call. You make a call. We don't say, hey, you can do this and this, and you can ask all these questions, and oh, look at our beautiful everything. I focus on either in my first company, the detection, just yep, or a false positive. I just shoot, ask questions later. And that's obviously, we talked about, that's Sonar with Symantec and Norton. And then here, how I differ from them is, can you ask these types of questions I've asked? You know, I'm looking for, you know, these riskier users. Could they ask some of those questions? Do they have instrumentation? Yeah, but they don't really know what to ask. And just to give you a parallel with that, when Symantec bought our first company, they threw our code in the trash pretty much, and they bought a text file of the rule sets, because they just, that's what they really want, are the rule sets, because they don't know what questions to ask.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
And a
nice,
lot of
nice,
them are,
like-
like I said, they're inference based, and like they're inference based, so it's not necessarily straightforward security questions you're asking, and we're plugging all these together in 30 seconds to say, yes, this is a reckless individual who we should probably lock down, you know, before they create a ransomware event.
Mhm, mhm. Where is your risk database? Do you actually install on the client side, on the, you know, your agent is running on the lab, you know, endpoint? How do you connect to the central database?
Rob, do you want to handle that?
Because
Yeah.
you have to keep updating your virus signatures, and, you know, like a total virus total or whatever.
We don't do much in the way of signature. Everything goes to the back end. It does, the client does require a connection to send a report. It's about a 200K report that is the list of the attributes it collects. And
It's
then-
all encoded. It's all encoded.
And it's encrypted on the wire as well as TLS. I'm saying, so if there's a man in the middle, you're still not getting the report.
Right. But
Um,
your agent, how do you update your agent? Like push patches?
no, so-
the agent has self-updating if needed.
Oh, okay, cool. That's what I wanted. All right, cool.
But it's depending on if you're doing, if you're not doing quarterly, you download it, run it, and it's gone. And then if you're doing quarterly, it will update itself right when it needs to, right before it needs to report.
So
Yeah,
you
so
already-
that's a great point, Rob. And I think viewing it as an agent, that's one of the things I learned in my first two companies. Is I got a lot of yeses from, you know, IT directors and engineers and CIOs and CISOs, only to get to the ops team, and then they say no. They're like, I don't want another agent on my machine, because the first two companies I had were agents. Whereas here I said, well, let's beat that, and let's just, and as Rob was just alluding to, they can push it out. You know, they download it once, you can test it for 20 minutes. You know, like I said, it's all read only and all that. And push it out, it runs, and then it deletes itself. And then well, you can either download a new one manually and then push it out the next quarter, or we have an option to where it'll download automatically. But it's not resident on the machine, so I wouldn't view it as an agent. It just sits there as a scheduled task.
Yeah, it's a volatile task, and you know, Ansible, the DevOps Ansible uses the same method. It's a cool method. It's a very lightweight process that you can push it. You can push it onto the endpoint.
For sure.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And
Pretty cool.
who uses that, you were saying?
Ansible, DevOps.
Oh, DevOps. Okay, so that's why I don't know it. Okay,
DevOps,
yeah. Okay.
Ansible, open source tool. Yeah, open source.
Got it.
Yeah, I was going to say, any comment on the Cylance, since it's been acquired now?
On Cylance?
Yeah, Cylance used to do similar. You know, they had their central database in the cloud, and they were applying machine learning and all on the endpoint detection.
Yeah, but see, but they're really about endpoint detection, whereas here we're looking for weak endpoints. We're not looking for threats on the endpoint.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, so you just, and like I said, so that was my old world was hunting for threats, and my new one is hunting for weak users in weak systems.
Right, I got it. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Mark, it's Derek. Like JP said, no, this makes a lot of sense. Really interested in sitting down with you for further conversation. So,
Shoot Monty or myself or JP an email You can go to our website and fill out the little web form. I put very little info on the website. I learned that, well, I always have put very little info because we do algorithms across all three of my companies. And so I don't really like to put, we're not really features. We're Intel. We're secret sauce.
Understood. Looking forward to talking to you.
Yeah, and we open, thank you, Derek. And we open the kimono just a little bit, just to give you a taste, but we don't show you all 581, but we give you enough for you to, for the light bulb to go off above your head and of your team's head and say, yeah, that makes a whole ton of sense. I can see what they're doing. It's clever. It's more clever than it is ML kind of stuff. It's much more, and that's how I've always done things. It's inference-based approach.
And that's what I like about it. And folks, if you're not on mute, please put yourself on mute.
Dev, I think your mic's open. Hold on, let me see if I can get Yeah.
I'm it's my second year in college. So yeah, it's a little because I did fuel credit.
Hey guys, whoever's not on mute, either go on mute or get dropped off.
Who's ever in charge can just mute them all, and then people can fire up. I think is
JP, we need to put him on mute or drop him.
I'm trying to mute him. There we go.
Thank you. All right, I'll give it back.
So any other questions? But yeah, so I'm glad. Thank you for the compliment on the approach of it being clever. Because if we were just another agent, we were just ML, and we were just a better mousetrap, then we'd get caught in all the Silicon Valley backed companies, you know, that you see new technology come from. We would just be caught up in all that same hubbub. We would sound like everyone else, and I need salespeople and a whole bunch of everything, you know, in marketing to go in different product management to go and differentiate it. But here, what we try to present is just something that's been missing in market, and it's different, and it's lightweight and easy to use. It doesn't cost a lot, and we're easy to work with. And you know, we essentially extend your security team. I mean, you could have folks sit down at these machines, and or if they even, hey, you know, I had a question about Tanium earlier. They wouldn't even necessarily know what questions to ask, but we can ask that many that quickly based upon 2 decades of experience that can give insight that it's not practical, even if you had the knowledge, it's even practical to do manually.
Yeah. Like you said, Mark, if anyone wants to follow up, contact JP or myself. My email is in the chat, and we can coordinate one-on-one meetings with Mark or Taylor, whoever we have to. So thank you, folks. I mean, this is good. Appreciate the attendance. And
Monty, no compliments on my slide I just made here for the end of the presentation.
Yeah.
Put our emails up there.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Appreciate it. So yeah. So
any other questions?
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I have my Power White t-shirt on.
Oh, you traitor.
Get the
Monty's ex-Malware
t-shirt on. All right. Well, if anyone of you guys are attending RSA, beers are on me. So let me know. So.
All right, everybody.
All right, thanks,
everybody. Thank you so much for your time in DFW. So we'll be signing off here from Austin. If no one has anyone else any other questions.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed the presentation.
All right. Thank you, JP. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ISC squared of DFW. And we can have our barbecue talk on our private talk.
Thank you, JP. Put it together. Thanks. Invite us.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
All righty, that was fun. But now we're gonna take it up just another notch. So for our second presentation, we got Kimmy. Kimmy, first of all, I love the vest and the tie. So you knew you were gonna get that from me. Also, before we start, let me let everybody know, this is one of my favorite technologies. I've been playing around with this for, what is it, about 3 or 4 years, Kimmy?
Yep, just about that. Yeah.
All right. So I'm no longer under NDA. I can say certain things that I want to say. Okay. And Leon, you can back me up on this. Coming from out of the DoD intelligence community space, one of the things that was really difficult is dealing with customers, because a lot of organizations don't know how to set up Active Directory. So in terms of not being able to set up Active Directory, when you want certain things set up for users' desktops, because I had a client who basically wanted their user community PC turned into no more than a terminal server. So these guys would be able to save nothing to the desktop, save nothing to the hard drive on that desktop, and basically put all the files in one location so everything could be audited. Well, we had several different ideas on how this could be achieved, trying to use this, trying to use everything you possibly could to get this up and running through Active Directory. And what it really came down to is trying to use Microsoft Terminal services and then getting the user to log into the terminal services and do what they would normally do, and then set up shares, and then have batch files and stuff run in the background in order to do what this product automatically does. And with that introduction, my good friend Kimmy, take it over and impress the masses.
Thank you so very much, JP. Thanks for the kind words, and also a great presentation by Mark. And what I'm going to be talking about, actually, somehow it's good. I did not know about Mark's presentation earlier, but it sort of plays into the same space that I will be referring to from analysis part. What we are going to be talking about, if I can just start my screen sharing. Okay, let me know when you guys can see my slide.
We can see it, my friend.
Awesome, thank you so very much. So as you can see, we're going to be talking about cyber security has been a very hot subject for quite some time now, and cyber resilience has been actually something that plays on top of cybersecurity and is actually more is gathering steam, in the sense that whether you're a small organization, whether you're a big enterprise enterprise grade company, you're an MSP providing services to small to medium business, or working with large enterprise, cyber resilience is something that you need to be able to talk about with your clients, specifically from the point of view how it can actually help mitigate, long-term damage, and how cloud services can be beneficial for that. So that's basically what we're going to be talking about, how we go about making those things. I think you must have read 3 days ago, I think, with all this, the Ukraine problem that's been happening, because the US government and UK government has actually put out a notice out there, because Russian government sector is targeting the rest of the Western world, the free world. So as we know, so the cyber attacks ransomware attacks, they are actually increasing day by day, and the Ukraine problem actually has added more into the mix over there. And for any business, it's very, very important that they are, they have a robust enough system in place that can help them not only defend in the first instance, that's where cybersecurity comes into play, but also be able to mitigate and be back into operations and be operational as soon as possible within a given time frame. So that's actually the area where why we talk about cyber resilience, and why it has become of the utmost importance that we actually have those plans in place. When we talk about cybersecurity and we talk about the CIA triad, where you actually have the confidentiality of who can access the system, how are they accessing system, part of the things that JP was referring to earlier, where Active Directory nowadays is still the backbone. Oktas and the Duos and other multi-factor authentication solutions that are out there, they are working alongside, or they can actually tap into the back end of Active Directory and enable those verified access. The second aspect, obviously, is the data integrity. So we need to make sure that the data that's flowing through, the data that is being accessed, not number one, is being accessed by the right people, but it is also being shared, and nobody else can actually go and tamper with the data. So that security of the data flow in the wide web becomes very, very important. While the confidentiality and the integrity part of the controlling these are very restrictive, at the same time, we need to have a very sharpened focus on the availability, which is, I would say, the user experience aspect. You need to make sure that not only it is very controlled access into the systems, no matter where you are. In the last 2 years, the remote workforce has become very, very strong. And people are accessing the corporate environments from across the globe more and more so now than they were earlier. So that access is being controlled. The data integrity is being managed. The restrictions are all there on the system. At the same time, the user experience should not be compromised. They should still be able to work with all that corporate environment and the data as though they were within the system. So that's very, very important that that is all being managed along with the cybersecurity. So the CIA triad is like a benchmark in a way, you can say, and then there are a lot of things that actually feed off that. And one of the things that feed off that obviously is your cyber resilience, and some of the key factors that lead on from cybersecurity are still the core, but then you add on to it when the incident happened, how did you respond to the incidents, what were the procedures and processes in place that you had, and the most important thing is how quickly were you able to remediate the problem that actually happened, and how quickly were you able to get the business back on track after an incident had happened. So those actually become very, very important aspects of cyber resilience. And I think this diagram that you're seeing over here highlights that, how the planning has to be in place for any eventuality, and that's where your cyber risk analysis comes into play. That's where your cyber security systems come into play. But now we are all aware it's not a question of if it will happen to us, it's a question of when it will happen. And it's that when that we need to be prepared for. And that is what cyber resilience and good stance within that space is very, very important. Good plan for your cyber resilience when you talk to your small to medium businesses, specifically because they don't have dedicated IT staff that can actually guide and advise them. So that is very, very important that you are able to present to them how you to build on top of your existing cybersecurity plan and try and move into the cyber resilience portfolio. And what we are going to be talking about over here is all about, we earlier on said cloud services. So the 6 engines, if you look at it, is one of the cloud services that can be actually leveraged for risk analysis, for that matter. Then there might be other services which are available for other part of maybe cybersecurity part. So there's whole group of or value-add services which are available out there in the market. This is what we were talking about earlier, some of the key factors to success for a good, robust cybersecurity, cyber resilience stance. Obviously, the risk analysis is where the 6 engine would play. You have your business impact analysis done. This where you guys, some of you guys will come in and talk to the businesses over there. But very important that all that constitutes the cybersecurity and cyber resilience need to play very well with each other. So, sometimes you might have a solution A that might not work very well with solution B that the client was already using. So those are the things that we need to make sure that your cybersecurity program that you have, your the IDP solution that you're using, they will work well with each other. Your DR solution that you have is in continuation and actually is not going to be conflicting with it. And if you have all those things, then you can actually focus on and provide a good, robust business continuity solution to your clients and to your businesses and internally also. And collectively, this is what basically, again, resounds to cyber resilience. The direction that I'm moving towards is more towards cyber resilience, a step ahead of cybersecurity. So, as I referred to in my slide earlier, there are a lot of services which are available in the cloud, primarily at different levels. There's infrastructure as a service. You have a platform as a service, software or solution as a service, and then obviously the desktop as a service. Now, I am not. They seem as though they're stacked up in that manner. They're for some. It is also the dependence on the other underlying layers, so to speak. Quite similar to the OSI layers, the 7 that we have, but they're not similar to that. They can be independent of each other. Again, as JP had discussed earlier, I am going to talk about cyber resilience, cybersecurity, cyber resilience, mitigating factors from the aspect of cloud services, and where we come in into the game over here and where we can actually work with you is in the desktop as a service or the DaaS scenario, which is a cloud service which can be quite beneficial at many levels. And I would like to highlight that, how that actually can be beneficial for you. Number one, I mean, it helps you access a virtual desktop. As we were talking about when we looked at the CIA triad, and we were talking about the user experience, it's very important that along with the strong security stance that your organization has, the user experience should not be compromised. So that is basically where we come into play. Obviously, security and safety of your data, that is very, very important. Your employees within the organization, again, part of their user experience. How are they accessing it? Is it a safe environment for them? Is it a totally secured environment for them? Are their sessions secured and from malware or any other hijacking? And at the same time, when all this is happening, it still needs to be a very cost-effective option. And that's where the cloud desktop comes into its own. There are a lot of players out there in the market. We are definitely not going to say we are the only one out there. I started my journey in the cloud space way back about 2000 odd when I became a Citrix certified administrator, rolling out Citrix large server farms, working with L'Oreal. Then as VMware started gathering steam, I started deploying VMware solutions. We never used to call them cloud solutions at that time, but they were essentially the same. We have still been working with the old terminal server. It's just basically old wine with a new name. So that's basically what it is. And the beauty is because it's old wine, so it is actually good quality. So the quality is still being maintained over there. So when we were talking about safe and security of your data, so it's all decentralized. For a lot of the people who, organizations that have got the people out in the field, having sensitive corporate data on the laptop can actually become a liability if the laptop gets stolen or the laptop gets hacked. So with this solution in place, there is no footprint on the local machine. So that actually does help. If the local machine does get hacked, nobody can actually access into your system. So you're actually getting that the leveraging or benefiting part of that. Again, the cyber resilience aspect, that if Kimi was out there working and I actually was doing this presentation, but something happened, I would be very quickly up and running because all I need to do is log into my environment from any other machine, even if it's not a secured machine. It's not part of my organization's network, but because using the cloud services, I'm up and running without any downtime. So those are some of the benefits that we can get. Again, leading on from that, obviously, very important aspect is the employees, as we talked about. I'm talking about Kimi going over there. So Kimi needs to be in a very controlled environment that I should not be able to install any application willy-nilly within my work environment. So, we can control all that. We can leverage, bring your own device for this, that I can actually bring my own laptop or my own iPad or my own Android tablet or my MacBook and still be working within a centralized corporate environment, which is standardized to the corporate's strict requirements, which, the systems have been hardened so that nothing untoward can happen within that environment. So all those things actually can be done centrally and it provide Kimi a very safe working environment. Some of the spaces we have talked about, this is more from the cybersecurity aspect, but cybersecurity is a very strong stance on that actually leads into a good cyber resilience planning in place. So obviously your endpoint protection comes into play from your email aspect. The data within the environment is backed up. So if something happens, we can quickly get it back up. So these are all part of your business continuity, disaster recovery. They all play into that. Again, highlighting the fact that cyber resilience is how we can actually help our small to medium businesses. Large enterprises have similar solutions out there already rolled out. Like I said, at L'Oreal, we were actually doing similar rollouts way back in 2000, 2005, very extensive server farms we had for them. So they can actually afford, and this is where the cost effectiveness plays into it, where they can actually roll out a solution which a large enterprise will have, and we can get the benefit to a small to medium business, and they can play in the big league. So it actually becomes very, very important. Obviously, having a flat rate is important. That hey, what you see, what you sign up is what you pay on. You only pay for what you use. A very important aspect from total cost of ownership and how you can actually manage that for small to medium organizations is by increasing the life cycle of their hardware as the solutions, the newer softwares are coming out. The requirement for hardware keeps on increasing. You can actually separate that hardware requirement from the infrastructure that you have rolled out for your client, for your end users, so they can always benefit from them. You don't have to worry about it. Right now, I have got 2 laptops over here. One is a ThinkPad wall state, cannot move on to Windows 11 anymore. That is one of the latest ones, and it is already on automatically say, hey, you can upgrade. I've upgraded that. But if I'm using VDesk Cloud Desktop, it would not matter whether I upgraded my machine or not, because I would still be working within the Windows 11 desktop environment, and I don't have to worry about my laptop being upgraded, because it is still going to provide me with the standardized, latest state-of-the-art work environment for me to work on. We can also help sometimes certain solutions that were developed in-house, but they were not designed for the wide area network. They work very well within the LAN, but they could not jump the routers and go out into the cloud. So we can actually help take some of these legacy softwares for the clients into the cloud, so that people can access them from wherever they are and still keep on working within their centralized, secure corporate work environment. So the cloud desktop is going to give you, a very secure, safe and resilient work environment. Your capital expenditure actually comes down. You don't have to invest in heavy and the latest and the greatest hardware. You can actually roll out, instead of giving a ThinkPad, you can actually give a decent Chromebook, and you can actually be up and running. One of the things that JP was talking about earlier, about having worked with me, and definitely can talk about, and one of the things I will like to talk about right now, Samsung's just recently, they actually had the smart monitors, but they recently have launched their M7 and M8 monitors, which are smart monitors. We actually have been working with them on the back end with their Korea and India office, where VDesk actually will become an embedded client within the Samsung environment. But even now, as it is, all you need to do is just buy a 32-inch Samsung monitor, plug in your USB keyboard and mouse. You go on the internet and you log into your VDesk work environment using the client, RDP client that's in there, and you are actually working in your safe, secure Windows desktop environment without having any machine, PC, thin client, anything on your desk. So that's something we've been working with them. We started in about 2020 with them. 2021 we're working, and because their solutions are Tizen based, so that's something we are currently working with them. But that solution is out there, again, bringing your total cost of ownership down, at the same time providing you a very robust, reliable environment that's out there. We definitely did talk about, you can use MacBook, you can use a Windows Linux machine, you could be using an Android iPad or Android tablet or an iPad. You could, no matter what device you have, but you can still be accessing your corporate Windows desktop and working within that, within the assured safety and security of the system, the way it has been set up for you. And the systems are hardened based on the client's requirements. So we have different security policies and system hardening policies that we put in place depending on how they want to do. We can actually have it a complete lockdown where you have full data loss prevention built into the system, where they cannot access their USB drives, any additional USB drives or USB ports, or they cannot do cut, copy, paste from physical to the virtual environment or virtual to the physical environment. So those things are all baked into the system depending on what the client wants to do and how they want to use it. The technology that VDesk, now I will talk about more from VDesk perspective. Earlier on, I was talking about more generic point of view with the VDesk flavor. Now I'm going to talk about how VDesk and what VDesk is, and how we can, working with you, provide and help you guys, take this and get the benefit of this. As I said, the enterprise grade solution and have the small to medium business players play in the big league. So it's a very tried and tested technology that we are actually leveraging. Server 2019, 22, we have been actually working for quite some years, and one of the things that I will highlight the age of our solution is that we've actually been supporting, and we still currently do support, if somebody has a legacy solution based on their server 2003, 2008, 8R2, we can still integrate that with you and still provide you a secure work environment. I know they're actually beyond end of life now. 2016 is going towards end of life, and 19 and 22 are the current ones which we are using. It's all developed on Microsoft.NET, very, very robust enterprise grade development platform that we're using. One of the things that I like to highlight, we did speak about duos and octas for multi-factor authentication. vDesk actually has a built-in multi-factor authentication where we can actually make sure that when Kimi logs in, he will actually get an OTP. I'll have to, after my Active Directory authentication, I'll have to enter my PIN, and only then I get authenticated. We can take it a step further, where we can also do device fingerprinting, whereby Kimi can not only be restricted to the system, but also restricted to the device I can use to access the system. So, like, for example, I have my security guy, Steven, on the call with me, but if Steven was to get my password somehow, and he was to, get my PIN also somehow, but if he was not on my machine, he would still not be able to access my work environment. So we can actually take it to that level. So again, providing a very hardened cybersecurity stance to the enterprise, to the customers that they're using. Part of the cyber resilience part where it comes into play is obviously your the endpoint protection that's in place. The systems are all load balanced. They are being backed up regularly. So if something untoward was to happen, right, it's how quickly we can get you back on track. And that's basically where solutions like this come into play. Recently, we were working with a client, and something happened, and they said, "Oh, we got to restart the machine." And he said, "Okay, can you do that right now?" And that was actually one of his terminal servers. And I'm not kidding you when I said that we actually had his terminal server up and running in about 7 to 8 seconds, and he was surprised. Is that because the infrastructure that we use on the back end is state-of-the-art enterprise-grade solutions, running 160 vCores to 200 plus vCores, 1.5 terabyte of RAM, and 80 to 120 terabytes of enterprise-grade SSDs. So the systems are blazingly fast and providing you for the robust and stable solution for you. At a high level, this is basically how the solution will work. You actually have your clients from different platforms. You are authenticated. You come in through a secure gateway. You hit Active Directory. You're authenticated. If MFA has been enabled, you actually do that, and then you're actually sent out to within the server farm, within your server farm and your machine, and your user profile list comes up, and then you can actually access it. And as you can see, the redundancies are built into the system that you'll always have environment available to you. So your desktop is always available, no matter where in the world you are, no matter what time you're trying to access it, it's always there for you. This is a bit more technical, but again, part of that whole cyber resilience stance, how we can actually help enable, be an enabler for your cyber resilience stance for your small to medium businesses. We can go into it later, maybe on a more smaller group. If we want to talk about it, we can certainly discuss that. So, again, a lot of these things I've already talked about when we talk about security management, the Active Directory sync with the multi-factor authentication. Again, providing you that solid safety net that you actually are extending to your clients or work to your end users within the organization. So we actually enable a lot of people, customers who have got Chromebooks and Chromeboxes, work within their corporate Windows-based desktop environment, accessing their work environment all within that safe, secure environment across the whole setup. We talk about data secure at rest, which is actually within our data centers behind multiple layers of cybersecurity that we were talking about earlier. On top of that, as I said, the systems are hardened, so they are also encrypted for each separate client's environment. They are separately encrypted. They are separate work environments for each individual, so there's no overlap. There is no cross-contamination happening over there. So it's data secure at rest. Then the connection pipe, it's all encrypted data, TLS 1.2. So the data transmitting between our DC and the desktop client is also encrypted. So it's data secure at rest, data secure in transit, and then using the desktop client that we actually have that is doing the handshake with the data center through the TLS pipe. So that's providing you data security in use for data secure at rest, data secure in transit, and data secure in use. So we actually create an additional layer of security or envelope of security around your existing system, because we can also provide you a hybrid work environment where we can enable the end users access your business or your client's on-prem environment in a secure way through the cloud without compromising any of the other security aspects. Obviously, very big part of providing a good cyber resilience stance is your backups and your restoration. So we actually provide everything in-house. You don't actually have to have any third-party requirements, but if your clients do require it, we are very comfortable. We are very flexible. We very strongly believe that it's the end user that needs to be working seamlessly, because for any business, those end users working seamlessly is a reason that business is growing. So when we spoke about the CIA triad, the accessibility part, the user experience part becomes very, very important. So all these are adding into that cyber resilience part, so that if something untoward was to happen, how quickly can we get you back up to it? So the backup and obviously your business continuity, disaster recovery planning, all plays very well into it. We can provide you up to your nth degree, depending on the customer's requirement, how the solution has to be done. We can tailor it to the customer's requirements so that they actually have that double redundancy, not just within the system, but within multiple data centers too, so that they are actually always on. Much like what Visa's data centers across the 4 geolocations in the US also provide for global data management. Very, very important aspect, obviously, is the user experience. Again, it has to be seamless. They should be able to use any device that they want to do. That's where BYOD comes into play. You can also access it. If I don't have a device and I'm actually traveling at the moment, I should be able to access my work environment without actually carrying a cumbersome device with me, but still have the sense of security and confidence of accessing my corporate work environment and working with it without leaving any residual footprint in any of this public domain space from where I was accessing it. So behind everything, obviously, it is systems only as good as the kind of reports that you can generate from it. How are your users working? Are they working seamlessly? Are they accessing the system? when did the Kimi access the system, how long was Kimi logged onto the system. So you can also generate those kind of historic reports and check that Kimi actually was working when he was supposed to be working. He logged in. Kimi just sends in an email to the manager, say, hey, Greg, I'm sorry I couldn't log in because the system wasn't available. And Greg can quickly ring up Steven and say, hey, Steven, can you please quickly check what time Kimi tried to log in and what does the audit report say? So Steven can look up and say, oh yeah, Kimi actually didn't log in today, or he tried to log in twice. He had a wrong password, or the third time he was able to log in, or he locked his account and had to do a password reset. So all those kind of systems can come into play. If your server farm is running slow, sluggish, or is peaking, emails can be sent out to the system admins that, hey, something needs to be done to be checked. So in a nutshell, the emphasis that I try to keep in today's presentation has been more how cloud services, and specifically within them, when we talk about DAS and vDesk works, can provide and help you, your clients, and your businesses bring into play a strong cyber resilient setup where you can actually get the benefit. It was, I hope I didn't rush through this too much. I know time limitations are there. Normally, if we were having a one-to-one session, we would also go in and give you a live demo where I can show you how the systems work, how simple and easy it is, the kind of infrastructure backend that can be leveraged. With having said all that, I'm available and open to questions. Anything that I can help you guys with, any questions on the system, on the solution, on the cybersecurity or the cyber resilience aspect.
What is the upper capacity and what size organizations can you have across the platform to do to basically, how many users could you support and what would I need in the infrastructure to do it?
Fair enough. Thank you for that. A very good question there, JP. It's a two-part question, and I'll answer them in two parts. Number one, the system is scalable seamlessly. We are supporting clients who have got thousands, and I mean thousands every day. Concurrent usage for the clients is in thousands of seats, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 users are logging into the system and working seamlessly, and they're accessing the environment globally. So we have got clients who are actually 2 to 5 seats. We have got MSPs who have got 15, 20 clients with about 5 to 10 seats each. They're all logging in and accessing the environment. Some of them are in the legal, paralegal space. Some of them are in the financial accounting space. We are actually providing QuickBooks in the cloud services for them. So the system scales seamlessly based on your requirement. And as I said earlier, from the costing aspect, you're paying for what you are actually onboarded with us. And that comes the second part of the question. The infrastructure that is going to be rolled out, that's where the CapEx is. If you were to do it for yourself, you'll actually have to have the incur capital expenditure to put that infrastructure in place, whereas vDesk is actually taking care of all that in the back end for you. Normally, when we engage with the client, we build overcapacity by about 20 to 25%. That growth is built into the system. We then have some clients, and which is very easily scalable again. But if you had 100 people and you said, hey, from the 1st of May, I'm going to have another 15 users, you don't even need to worry about it. you have your users in your Active Directory. The Active Directory for vDesk is synchronized, and the users come in and log in with their username, password. If they've been enabled with MFA, they actually get their MFA PIN, and all those things are in place. Now, if a client was on say 500 or 1,000 seats, and they say, hey, from the 1st of May, I need to have another 500 seats. Now, that can sometimes take, because capacity planning is something we do periodically based on our infrastructure. Things are in place, but if sometimes a request comes in, right now I'm working with a client, they actually have a GPU based for their AutoCAD work environment system. So those kind of machines are not always in stock in part of my inventory. So I'll tell them, hey, give me about 8 days and the system will be up and running. So when we're talking about that, sometimes the timeline is very important. But by and large, session-based environment, 20 to 25% of capacity is built into the system.
Kimmy, do you have like a per user breakdown cost on what it would save an organization going with this solution versus trying to do other things? Because when I'm looking at this, is BYOD, because I know a lot of organizations just jumped out there and put in different solutions. And I feel like this is probably the best solution, because I can also add a VPN as part of the desktop and make sure that they actually can't do anything from a security standpoint that goes outside of what our policy should be.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have done various exercises where we have compared prices with Azure, AWSs, and GCPs in a similar sort of a work environment. We can share them with you guys. But the core benefit, again, when we talk about cybersecurity and we talk about cyber resilience, similarly over here, the focus is not as much on return on investment, but on total cost of ownership to the organization. The reason I like to focus on the TCO part is because it's not just the desktop, it's everything part of the cyber resilience and the cybersecurity that plays into providing you an environment which is always going to be available to you no matter what time, no matter where you're accessing it from. And your backup solutions are included in that. Your endpoint protection is built into it. All those things are already provisioned for you. And on top of that, you can actually leverage the bring your own device. One of the things I know, JP, you really like, I have not discussed about here right now, is that we have a live USB that can be plugged into any machine. You boot up from that and straightway takes you into your vDesk work environment. You can log in and you can start accessing vDesk work environment from any machine, essentially, without having to have a device. So it essentially gives you a desktop in your pocket. So you could you could have access to your desktop literally from anywhere without carrying a device. You just have your USB with you, plug it in, and you're up and running.
Real quick, Kimmy, can you describe to them the importance of the fact that you can turn off other people's USB devices?
Sure. Yeah, so that actually is a part of the data loss prevention at the physical layer level, where we can actually, part of the system hardening, as we were talking about earlier, we have different system hardening policies in place. And one of the most restrictive one, obviously, is where we can lock the USB ports of the machine. We can lock access to the hard drives of the local machine. We can disable cut, copy, paste from the virtual environment to the physical environment. So essentially, isolating your corporate work environment from the physical device that you're accessing it from from on the host machine where the VDES desktop client is running. So all those things can be managed centrally from the back end, and hardening of the system is all part of our onboarding process where we engage with the client. And again, part of that, customizing the solution to deliver to you what you want it to do for you, instead of us saying, hey, there's something, you take it and use it. So you get the actual benefit of it.
Okay, I dominated the questions. Does anybody else have any questions for Kimmy? Anyone? All righty, well, let me go ahead and say it. Kimmy, thank you so much. I enjoyed this because it's actually a timely presentation in terms of the work environment that most people are under today. Even though there are a lot of organizations trying to get their folks back into the office, there's still a ton of organizations out there that's doing BYOD. And for the most part, a lot of folks did BYOD without a real plan in place. So they just bought laptops and gave them to their users, or told the users to use their laptops and connect it to the network. So this actually does supply a secure solution for that incident.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, JP, and to the ISC Square to give me. It's a privilege to be able to present here and interact with you all. Saw a few familiar names out there. Thanks, Derek, to you too. A big hi to Dave. It's been a while since we spoke. But yeah, look forward to any questions that you guys might have. My email is available. I am accessible, like our system, 24/7. I'm so used to it working with different teams, because our solutions are available 24/7. Different teams are working at different times, but then I work with almost all the teams if required. I'm available at a time that is more convenient to you for any further discussions.
Thank you again. Oh,
pleasure is all mine.
I see a good friend of mine at the snuck onto the. Oh, wait a minute! Before any of that, I'm gonna get personal real quick. If you see at the bottom of it, you may see Tiffany Savage on there. That's my niece. Okay, so first of all, let me let people know how proud I am that somebody in my family decided to get in IT, and it wasn't my daughter. Okay, because my daughter says she hates computers. But also, Tiffany, real quick, let folks know what it is you do and where you do it at.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tiffany Savage. Yes, JP is my uncle. I'm happy that I was brave enough to transition into IT, if you will, from originally non-technical operations at Amazon and their robotic fulfillment and quality space. Now I have transitioned into cybersecurity as an engineer with Visa on their application security team. So I'm doing some really interesting matrix work over there as a part of the security architecture team, and kind of moonlighting in SSDLC to really implement like a shift left policy there as well. Very network of networks and acquire entity heavy. So I just look forward to learning from you all and participating more to make sure that I'm aware of all the industry trends and standards, and just get good advice from all of you all who have experience in the work field. Thanks, Uncle.
Okay, and let me be the first one to tease the living bejeebers out of you, because we don't like development teams and stuff like that here on here. No, I'm just teasing. But no, we really are going to mess with you as far as being the development person.
As you should. I jokingly refer to myself as both the village scribe as well as a silo breaker. So my whole there is serving as a conduit between the larger enterprise incident response all the way down into the PD team. So even past the SSDLC developer, we're at the product level too. So really getting to just kind of have a direct audience with the CISO and just be able to take those business strategic objectives into consideration, as well as like our security posture. And so I totally get it, and I welcome all of the feedback as a silo breaker.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. We're gonna help you out as much as we can. Now, also, let me call out somebody else that snuck in on the meeting. My good friend Scott Nash. Scott, tell the good people what you do.
Hey, thank you for that introduction. That was very warm. I've only been on this call for a half hour, and I wish I was on here earlier because I've heard some very powerful stuff, and I will briefly get into, and it's not very sexy what I do, but it is still a must. It's still a need. What we provide at Brass Valley is destruction of all kinds of electronics backed on a certificate of destruction. We assist with deployments, rollouts. We have a data center practice just for disposal of data center products. We offer value recovery on product. We offer a white glove service, so we could act as your company on your behalf anywhere around the world. Last year, as a company, we closed down 51 data centers in over 2 months. So we are in the business, we understand the business, and we value the environment. We're never, ever going to just throw something to the side and hope nobody finds it. There was a big case with JP Morgan that they had somebody disposing of their hard drives, which it did not actually happen. There's a big lawsuit, very big. So at the end of the day, we take data security very serious in and out of data centers, and we have multiple different ways to remove embedded media on any product. We go a few steps further than anyone else. And the biggest piece that makes us different is we're not one of these scrap dealers. We're actually a certified disposal with certificate. We have all kinds of regulations, procedures we must go by. So that's it in a nutshell. I just want to introduce myself, and I wish I would have been on this call a little earlier because there's a lot of good knowledge here, and I can see if you guys are here, you know JP, he's a solid gentleman, and appreciate the intro you provided. Thank you.
Okay, Scott, I built up a reputation of being an a-hole, and you trying to kill it. Okay.
You are definitely not.
Look, don't do that in front of other people.
Okay,
You can
all
say
right.
that to each other. Don't do that in front of other people.
He's
Okay.
a jerk.
There you go.
Jerk.
There you go. And they'll
No,
believe
I'm
that
kidding
because
with
they've
you.
seen that side of me.
Don't worry, JP, your reputation is intact.
Thank you, Pete. Juan Quintero, am I saying that right? Warren? I just wanted to say hi. You can say hi to everybody.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, no, I just wanted to say hi to you. I hadn't seen the name on there before. And Kevin McAllister, I think maybe I've seen you on here before. And was it Kawan or Kawanan?
Can you hear me?
Yep. I was just saying hi to everybody real quick. Now I got one more thing we're gonna do before. Let me share the screen before I get rid of everyone. I have everybody's numbers. If not, please place it into the chat window. All right. Can you see my screen, good people?
Yep, I can see it.
Yes.
ISC
All
square
right.
website.
Oh, shoot. Of course, this is where the box pops up. All right. What you have here is if you already have an ISC Square login, let me log in so you can see it. Sign in. Let's go. God dug it. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. So this is the window that your dashboard should come up. If you saw that little red dot, that is because I stay under audit. And the reason why I stay under audit, come on, quicker. It's time for a new PC. Windows 11 is killing me right now. All right, hold on. Let me go back. We'll save that for another day. What I really want to show you is the Professional Development Institute. All members of ISC Square, that is the national organization, not the local. Okay. So you'd have to go through a certification or just sign up with them. You have access to the Professional Development Institute. Anytime you cannot make it to a chapter meeting or you're getting close to the CPs that you need and you just need to pull a couple more and you don't see any events that you're going to be physically able to attend. Not only do we have chapter meetings on Fridays and Saturdays, okay, everyone is welcome to every event. Don't feel like, oh, well, this one was set up for the Black folks in IT. Well, guess what? The Black folks in IT want you to come on in with us. Anyhow, the Professional Development Institute is set up so you, as a member of ISC Square and as a certification member, can access a bunch of different courses. Now, if I was going to sit back and advertise this, I had, oh, the Chinese have taken over. Wonderful. Anyhow, what it's set up for is for people, oh, look at that, and it's in Spanish. I don't know why am I getting this right now, but anyhow, you can use your own login and go and look at it. What most of these classes are cloud basics. Oh, here we go. This is the one that I took for the heck of it. The vCISO's Guide for Success, the vCISO's Guide to Success. Okay, so if you notice on the left-hand side, it says free for members. That's the part that the people that are already certified need to see. Now, so for those of you who are not members of ISC Square yet, you see that nasty little price of $160 on it. I'm not saying that it's worth it to get your CISSP just to have access to this, but guess what? There's a lot of different organizations out there that are going to charge you a whole lot more money for these different things that you're getting free as a member of ISC Square. Also, here we go, Cloud Basics. Anybody's interested in doing cloud, conducting practical risk analysis for security professionals. That's for all of my GRC folks, creating a high-performing cybersecurity team. I should not be eating while I'm talking, but anyway, this is for all of my cyber managers, creating your path to CISO. That's for all my other cyber managers. Anyway, that is so you guys can also get extra credits. The CISO was the guide for CISOs, or whatever that first one was I showed you. That's a 4-credit class that if you are kind of like me and you speed read, you can get through that in 2.5 hours, take the exam, and get your 4 CPEs just for that class alone. So you have access to that. Now, here's the fun stuff. And if you gotta go, I understand. Do not feel obligated to stay here with us, but know that if I make it to 2:15, in which case we're going to make it to 2:15, you will get 2.5 credits for the chapter. All right. So as you may well know, there's a lot of stuff that pisses me off with information security. So I can't say pissed off all the time. So what I call it is what grinds my gears. So today, for all of my new folks and for my junior folks, what I'm going to do real quick is get you to understand about vulnerabilities. And Kelly, anything I say wrong or anytime you feel like jumping in, please, by all means, go in and correct me. Now, the important part about this is, for all of your environments out there, you're going to have different types of devices, different types of software, and stuff like that. What Homeland Security did under the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency did, they collect all of the vulnerabilities for the previous week and send them out as a report. This is free. If you are a citizen, if you have an email address, and matter of fact, you only have to be a citizen. I don't think they scrutinize that bad, but you didn't hear that from me. I hate that I said that on the recording. Now I got to go back and edit it out later, but that's fine. Oh, also, if you need to go back and review anything in this meeting, I should have this up prior to our May meeting. today, the March meeting goes up in YouTube, and I'll send, excuse me, in YouTube. I'll send out a link for that. So if you missed it, you need credits, you can put that in, and then you can submit your own credits on that. Everybody that sent me their ISC Square number, and most of you already have your numbers. If this will go out today, which means check next Friday. If you don't have your credits by next Friday, you got my email address. Shoot me an email, and I'll check on it for everybody. All righty, let's go back to this. I put a handy dandy little note, and I'm going to put this out on LinkedIn in the group so you'll know. All righty. At the top, when we go back, you'll see CVSS. That's Common Vulnerability Scoring System, okay? CVE is Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures. I hate the way that in our industry, we just acronym people to death, okay? So if you catch us doing acronyms, do not be afraid to ask flat out, what the heck are you guys talking about? All right, so let's talk about the CVEs, Common Vulnerability and Exposures. Long time ago, in the DoD and the IC world, internally, let me explain this portion real quick. The DoD world is not connected to the regular internet. DoD has its own internet. There is a portion that has connectivity to the internet. That may have changed since I've done work with them. Don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, when you get the overall report from CISA, the report is divided high vulnerabilities, moderate vulnerabilities, or medium vulnerabilities, and low vulnerabilities. JP's view of the world is this: you patch the highs, you patch the mediums. Why? The mediums today may be high next week, okay? So you might as well just go on through and patch it. Now, for time's sake, all I did was put out here the highs, okay? So we said Windows 10, oh, look at this, Cisco hitting the top 40 once again. All right, Microsoft Dynamics 365, Server 2008. Now, for those of you who don't know, Server 2008 was retired when, Kelly? Kelly? Am I on by myself? Anyway, I believe it was retired in maybe 2016. I could be wrong at that day. Anyway, it is end of life. All right, so on each one of these, not only do you see individual vulnerabilities for each one of the listed items, you see a reason why it was tagged. Now, where the CVSS score is, this is to tell you how important it is to go on and patch the thing. Okay, so now we're dealing with two things. We're dealing with configuration management, and we're also dealing with vulnerability management. Now, in most of your organizations, they may not be mature enough to understand what the CCB is. The CCB is your change control board or your configuration control board. What the group should consist of is people from IT, people from IS, and everyone that will be affected from the change. So you may even have a user representative. What you do with the change control board is you sit back and notify everybody before you make the change. Why is the change necessary? This document here is basically something that you can make inside of your own environment and tell everybody why it's important for this patch to be put out, what it could possibly affect in your environment. So let me click on one of the CVEs. Oh crap, it may not go out. Is it going out? I'm making a selection, come on. Crap, okay, hold on. Let me take you out. Let me stop sharing this and go out there to the actual site. All right, so we got the list. Let's go out to the site itself. There. Okay, so this is an organization that does nothing but score the vulnerabilities. Okay, if you look on the side, it tells you about the scoring system. The SIG is special interest group. Okay, so when we see SIG, that's what it's referring to. Okay, if you notice at the bottom, request to join. You can actually get some of these things on there for all of my junior folks. They got a training class online. Also, they even tell you about on the left-hand side, user guides, how to, and it helps you implement or come up with how to implement your patches. But the important part of this side of the house is the scoring system itself, because this is also another way that you can decide what you want to do in terms of adding or implementing your patches. Let's get to the second one real quick. And oh, good, 6 minutes. I can let you guys go. And actually, we can do it a little bit earlier because I figured somebody may have questions. So I'll sit on so we can answer some questions. Let's go back through. Oh, and while I'm scanning through this, next month, we have 2 great presentations coming up. One of them is phosphorus. It is a IoT application that if you need to update something because one of the firmware on your IoT device is out of date, you can actually use that in order to update all the IoT devices all at once instead of having to do one at a time. Now, the important thing, God dog it, wrong thing. The reason why that's important, if anybody online has done anything with IoT devices, the big problem you have with IoT devices is you may not get their software is, let's say, difficult at best. You may not have a automatic updater across your whole network for the IoT device. So the nice part about what this does, it gives you the ability to look at your network and say, okay, go ahead and update my firmware. Also, if you want to do sections of firmware at one time, it allows you to do sections of firmware. Also, Think Cloud. Think Cloud is a cloud-based solution. I feel like everybody might want to see because it's actually kind of neat. All righty, so let's go back. On the actual CVE itself, okay, we're in the National Vulnerability Database, okay? This comes out of NIST. So people that get tired of hearing me yell NIST, 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 you're gonna hear me yell NIST one more time. What this database does is tell you about the vulnerability. The important part about this is it comes, if you look at the quick info on the right-hand side in the blue box, if it's coming through clearly on your end, it's telling you this comes from Microsoft, which means they understand that they have a vulnerability in their software. They self-reported, and when they self-reported, they told you, hey, we have this vulnerability, we have a patch for it. There are two ways that you can deal with this. Sometimes they may have a link that goes directly to the patch, like right here. And if you see, it is directly from Microsoft, and it's giving you the advisory on the actual patch itself. Also, it tells you pretty much the history of where these patches are. Okay, so if you see the CVSS, that's the score from version 2. This is the score from version 3 on up. All right, I felt like this was important to give everybody a quick lesson on that because it's not like you would see this in a normal class. I love this right here. Now, we were talking about the CCB and your configuration control board, and talked about configuration management as well as vulnerability management. This piece here, known affected software configurations, okay? This is important because if you don't have these types of servers in your environment, guess what? Don't worry about patching. But if you're running a Windows environment, and I would dare say I would at least look at it if I'm running Azure, just to be safe. Here are the things that they know it affects. Doesn't mean that this is all of them, because you may have some crazy configuration based on a software application that you've gotten from a third-party vendor. This goes back to the very first thing that you should be doing in terms of you as the security person in your environment. In your environment, you should know everything that's in your environment. And the way you know everything in your environment, you either get a piece of software that will sit back, crawl your network, and tell you all the devices that you have out there, as well as the OSs of those devices. If you don't have that, you may have to go old school, and you really don't want to do it, but you may have to go out and walk the floor and see what you have. Now, depending on the size of your organization, this may be ridiculous to do. So you got to go back and figure out what you can do in terms of getting software for the organization and using that software to see what you have out there. You can't protect what you don't know you own. Anyway, that's it. That's what I got. Any questions about anything you've seen today? Oh, well, I'm glad you said Qualys, Tiffany, because oh, he left. That's why he wasn't on it. Kelly Hammonds is a Qualys expert. That man worked for Qualys. He lives and breathes Qualys. That is my reference to anything in the Qualys world. So you guys know what the heck Qualys is. It's a vulnerability management tool. It is akin to Rapid7 and is way better than Tenable, which half of these cheap bastards in IT like to use. Now, there is some things that Tenable is helpful with. One of the things, Tenable helps a lot of organizations who like to do pen testing, or they have people to come in and do pen testing, because it helps with the OSINT side of the world. OSINT is basically, it's another tool in the penetration testers toolbox. Everybody that's on now, we are at 3:15. You got 2.5 for being on the call. Does anybody need anything from me before I call it a day? I'll take the 2 documents and I'll send them out in LinkedIn so you can actually have and hold and take a look at it yourself. All righty, good luck on the interview. I will text you later, and I'll have you talk on a call with Danetti. Danetti, you get more people in, Danetti. It's for you to teach. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, GP.
Hey, thanks. Good to see you again,
Thanks,
Kurt.
JP. Cheers.
Bye, everyone. Okay, next month, I'll send out the invites for next month so we can start getting ready for it and everybody knows when the date is. Bye, everyone. Oh, thank you for that, the end of life for Windows Server, Leon. Scott, thank you so much for showing up and letting everybody know what you got going on. Thanks, Leon. Bye, Janetti. Bye, Luke. I already got your number too, Luke, so don't worry about it. I got you.